you talk about values, which must involve presumably freedom of the press and human rights and so forth. Did you raise those with the Chinese president when you were talking to him last week?
I rose with all the leaders I met. And that's why, because I do
what
this
did he
job.
say to you?
I do this job in France in order to relaunch Europe, for you to understand the full picture. The job we make in France is good for France. We will, I'm sure, in the coming years, improve our figures in terms of employment, reduce our deficits, and so on. That's it. It allows me to be more credible at the European level and convince, especially Germany, to work together to relaunch this new Europe. And third, it allows us to be more credible at the international scale on different subjects, on different topics, taking the leadership on climate change, against climate change, on Lebanon and several issues. On human rights,
can I
always
jump in
raised,
on climate change, just since you mention it?
I just wanted to...
Very quickly. So.
No, on human rights, so taking this part, I raised human rights directly with all the leaders. In China, it's absolutely counterproductive to raise it during a press conference. Because, I mean, the political system, the regime, presidency is, I mean, not in a situation, in the current, I mean, in an environment.
It's not going to help, you think?
I do believe it's totally counterproductive.
Okay.
So what I did is I had a direct discussion. We have a track to discuss this issue. We decided an organization, and I provided, I would say, visibility and the ability for him to be sure that this is not a diplomacy in front of the camera. So that's it. It's different when I speak with President Erdogan, because we had hours of discussion on human rights and specific situations, but I issued a very clear statement.
Let me ask you, if I may, about yet another leader, and wonder what you thought when you got up in the morning and read what President Trump, I can't say the word, had said about certain African countries, S-hole countries. He denies it, but a lot of people say he used that word. And among the African countries who were outraged and very offended by that were many Francophone countries, many French-speaking countries in Africa. I wonder, did you share their outrage?
For sure.
So,
for sure, it's not a word you can use. And if we want precisely to build peace, development in this country, and a respectful relationship.
You can't use those kind of words.
But by definition, and I think a lot of our issues in both in Middle East and in Africa is due to a lot of frustrations, due to a lot of past humiliations.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that. And I do believe that we have to respect all the countries. Mm. That's what we owe them, and that's much more efficient. So I have a very direct relationship with President Trump. We have a very good relationship.
You sat down with him for dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower. I wonder what you make of him as a person, having come across him closely.
Look, I think he is not a classical politician. So first of all, he was elected by the American people. Mm-hmm. He is the president of the United States. And that's a great country and that's a great ally. So I want to work with him, and I think we built a very strong relationship. We disagree on several topics.
Sure.
I call him very regularly. I'm always extremely direct and frank. He is. Sometimes I manage to convince him. And sometimes I fail.
Do you wake up in the morning thinking, what has he tweeted this night?
No, no, because I think we should not overplay the situation and these tweets. Because that's a sort of mix between personal and political reaction. And I think it's not feasible when you're president of a republic like the US Republic, but like the French one.
To respond too much like that. But the reason I'm asking, with a slight smile on my face, but it is very, very serious. We've got something like the North Korean situation. When Trump basically says, my nuclear button's bigger than your nuclear button, a lot of people in the world think this is just slightly unhinged and very dangerous.
Yes, but the best answer you can provide to that is what? Just to say, we have to work very closely and seriously to force North Korea to come back to the table of negotiations. Mm. We have to follow the UN sanctions and implement them. And the critical country in order to deliver is China.